just like you both noted, in our process of learning and unlearning things and bringing ourselves into this consciousness and this awareness, um, what are the practical things that you would say to a person who is watching at home, who might think, okay, I've been thinking the wrong way for 25 years, and this has governed my life, my whole life, and now I want to change. Where do I start?
Because you know what, there used to be spaces where people could be able to have these conversations that, I mean, I remember when I was growing up, issues around sex and sexuality, there was a space, a love life that you could go to and be able to discuss and learn in languages. And actually there isn't a space that has been created around gender-based violence. So perhaps this is an opportunity for community leaders, for artivists, for teachers like yourself and myself to create these spaces once COVID permitting, you know, once we've all been vaccinated and are safe. To create these spaces where people can learn this language, can go to the space and learn to be what is consent. I mean, just yesterday I was having a conversation with a cousin of mine who's about 25, 26, and I was explaining what it means to be a transgender person. And at 25, you know, you think that people know, but they don't know. And I had the capacity at the time to be able to teach. But we mustn't constantly think that as women, our responsibility and our capacity is to go and teach men. Sometimes we're tired. Sometimes surviving a day is exhausting. I don't have capacity to teach. So this is where I challenge men like Ubongile to create those safe spaces for men to ukubhodla and to learn new ways of engaging with the world that can keep the woman and the girl child safe.
I agree with you, Masas.
For once.
Space is something else. You're creating a safe space. But I think there's a lack of trust ebantwini, because there's an thinking that it's safe. And then the next thing, circulator we social media. So we need a band about equipped to deal with problems. It's space here, but if you're not equipped, if you're not experienced enough to help us in like band, because it's different, isn't like. Then we will learn one all the time. I'll make an example. My father is a pastor. But I could tell there were times I got going but then ati mama how solve it, you know. But you can tell he wants to solve this problem, but I'll tell you one thing. As much as my father was a pastor, I've never had a conversation about sex until I was 40. That for me is a problem. Because we are raising abandona bit, but we are scared to talk to them about gender issues. We are scared to talk about a GBV.
Consent.
You know what I mean? For me, there's a problem of communicating with young people. Hence, cinema chitakhale zikonin anqokolubupanga. It's because we are not raised to talk about these balek layers of madoda.
And Lamachita Ekonini now become the safe space.
Yes.
Now become the community where you share ideas and thoughts and experiences, and nibangane okanye nimisleadane, because that's the safe space that you have.
Exactly. And another thing when I'm asking, you hear things which chomi yakho ibethe icherya izolo. The first thing uyenza your response yakho andingeni mina andifuna uyingena. You know, yi language esinayo le yaselokishini ukuthi hey hayi bafethu into yobabini ayingena.
Yeah.
No concern, nothing, life goes on.
Yeah.
And that for me problem esinayo. And next door uvisikalo awufuni nonqonqozo baqhubeka ndoni na. You carry on with your life ngomso uva kuthiwa hayi umama next door uswelekile or ichera next door iswelekile kukhona wothukayo, the next thing wenza ntoni? Nothing, life goes on.
But this is why when Abongile, sorry to interrupt you, there was a time when there was a government partnering with artists and institutions to create, because we know the power of story as artists. And I remember there was a time when Soul City was particularly dealing with gender-based violence and what the community's responsibility is, not to turn the other cheek, but to, so we need to create those spaces again, because we have, I mean, like I said earlier, where much is given, much is expected. As artists, it's our responsibility to take the mirror to society and reflect it back to them. So maybe we shouldn't be interested in creating work that entertains alone. Maybe now our challenge as artists is to create work that reflects society back to itself and makes society go, do we like what we see? So that for me is a potential of creating work and stories that speak back to our lived experience. I mean, I don't know if I'm making sense, but there's an opportunity to create those safe spaces, to create work that not only entertains, but also educates. And this requires partnership at the level of government, at the level of private, public-private partnerships. There's so many people who have the money and actors who have the skill and facilitators like yourself who can teach. This is what the artist's work is.
Yeah, Masasa, I hear you and I feel you again. But I have a problem with the people that we trust to facilitate izinto sithetha ngazo namhlanje. We trust our pastors, but ngabantu bokuqala uabuser abantwana bethu. We trust our leaders. So I have a problem with abantu esibabeka kwezi spaces. I don't know if you hear me.
I hear
I just have a problem with every time when a victim comes to me and immediately I'm safe.
Yeah.
How do I solve this problem? Come here. You are safe, but you are not safe. I know Uti, you are my next victim. That is my big problem.
I hear you, Bongs.
I don't know, with these spaces, there are wrong people somewhere, somehow.
And this is perhaps why then I am excited about, Black psychologists like Umasi that exist, because perhaps then that's what we need. We need to create safe spaces with properly trained clinicians who know, because as a pastor, your father was a lay counselor. He did as much as he can in the short term to intervene in those situations.
Absolutely.
But perhaps he didn't have the vocab once again and the skill and the theoretical understanding of how do I treat this patient or this client or this victim of this abuse, which is why spaces that have psychological support are needed. Spaces, and also as Black people understanding that going to a mental health care practitioner is not taboo. It doesn't mean in fact, it takes a lot of strength to be able to go to a mental health care practitioner and go, I'm not okay. So maybe that's what we need to create in those spaces.
I've done it for the first time. Yeah. Diane.
I'm proud of you.
Yeah, no, I did it, but
And how was that?
It was interesting. I mean, obviously as a man, like I said to you, culture yoba azange libe nayo la connection with my dad about bana masithethe ngezinto ezinje. Which another problem about that, xa unengxaki uyazifaka apha kuwo ngaphakathi uzibhotlishe. And then something happens kwetna yakho uqhoba ngempama because awunayo into yothetha. You know what I mean? Awunayo the culture ukuthi let's discuss, let's sit down. So sine problem enjalo. So it was amazing because for the first time ndikwazi ukuthetha nomuntu ndimtrust about into yami ndimxelela ingxaki yami ba inje nanje nanje. And some of the things were personal. Zizinto enadixelela into bana ndazixelela ngaphakathi ndingaze ndizithethe. But for the first time as a man ndithi I'm going to cry. Because my culture says men do not cry. And for the first time I was like weeping, and I remember sitting there and just vulnerable and naked basically. And then from there I went back again and I felt very light. But lando it in the indoor. I can't tell other men about this experience. But later I had discussions with the good time, and I went to this person and I feel good.
Yeah.
You know, and even today I'm still feeling good about that.
Yeah.
We are definitely moving towards the right direction as a society, but there needs to be an acknowledgement that the older generation doesn't know how to. So we expected them to teach us right. But now, bobasuka kule culture yoba, we do not talk, we do not share our feelings. Men are like this, women are like this, and I think the awareness that we're coming into now, and the growth that we're experiencing now as a society is beautiful.